When it comes to the devil, Satan, Lucifer, the evil one, I think sometimes individuals approach this reality of evil as something that is fictitious or not real, that they don't take evil seriously. Now, I promise you that evil, Satan, the devil, the Lucifer, he's real. The testimony of saints who have seen him, the stories of exorcists who have cast out demons tell us that the devil is real. But also from Scripture, the source of the fullness of truth tells us Satan is real, that Jesus encounters Satan in the desert when he is tempted for 40 days. Now go all the way back. It's right there at the beginning of the good book, in the book of Genesis. Adam and Eve in the garden, and this most cunning of all the animals, the serpent, slithers in and begins to deceive Adam and Eve. He, the evil one, casts doubt for Adam and Eve. Did God really say this? Well, you know, that isn't true. Did God really tell you not to eat the forbidden fruit? Well, you know, he didn't really mean it. You can eat from that tree. So the devil casts doubt. And then you have Jesus in our gospel today being tempted. He's being tempted with pleasure, wealth, and power, the three classic temptations of this gospel. And you wonder, well, how does the devil come to Jesus? Is it again in the image of the snake, the serpent? Or is it in some other fashion? What I'd like us to consider, though, today is if Jesus was tempted today, what would be the modern day temptation? Sure, it could still be pleasure, food, wealth, and power. But are there other temptations that the devil may have tempted Jesus with? And here's the thing. The gospel tells us that Jesus was tempted with every temptation. So the gospel records three specific examples, but over the course of that 40 days, Jesus experienced all of these temptations. Every temptation to present day, he experienced. I think one of the temptations might be to that of indifference. You know, that the evil one, he comes to Jesus and says, look at all the pain and injustice in the world. You can't fix that. It's too overwhelming. Most people don't care anyway. Why bother? That same indifference creeps into our own lives as well. I think one way I saw it in the past week, talking about Lenten regulations with people. Someone said, well, those are just man-made rules. They don't really matter. Well, they do matter. The church has observed these for hundreds of years. It's not willy-nilly, but there's a sense of indifference. Well, the church has asked me, but I'm indifferent. I don't need to do this. It doesn't really matter. God doesn't care. So notice indifference, the temptation to that creep into your life. The second temptation I would think is distraction. That the devil would come to Jesus and say, there's so much to do. Why not get caught up in entertainment? You deserve it. Now, I'm not here to tell you, don't watch entertainment, don't watch television. I'm a fan of television. I love film. I do movie reviews. But to the excess, well, that's a distraction. With our cell phones, scrolling for 20, 30 minutes, taking away precious time. The Netflix, autoplay, You watch one episode, you watch 5 episodes, 5 hours of your life gone. Well, that's a distraction. And so the distraction, what is it distracting us from? Well, it's distracting us from the Lord. It's distracting us from Jesus. It's distracting us from prayer and faith and spiritual maturation. You see, the devil wants to distract us because if we're not focusing on Jesus, we're not focusing on changing our lives. But when we focus on Jesus, well, then the devil loses his foothold in our life. So that's why the evil one would use distraction. Bring before the Lord, a television, and he watches those shows, or bring before the Lord a smartphone, going through social media. Jesus responds to the devil with scripture. Well, you cannot serve both two masters. Maybe serve God with an undivided heart. I am God. He alone is God. You could think of any number of scripture passages. The third temptation that the devil might tempt with would be that of lust. That the devil would come to Jesus and say, you could have anything or anyone. You desire this. You deserve to indulge it. Nobody'll know. Why hold back? And so lust, with technological advancements over the ages, this has become a real big issue. Letting that temptation creep in a little bit. I think a classic example of how lust has really entered mainstream just this past week with the Academy Awards. A movie called Anora wins Best Picture and wins 5 categories. Well, Anora is about a sex worker. And so the very first 45 minutes, from what I've read, I've not seen it, it's very explicit. And so again, this inundation of images, unwanted, although, it shows how lust reigns and creeps in to just ordinary things, how people go and see it, how people vote for this movie. Well, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Some of the great saints, Thomas Aquinas, St. John of the Cross, people were so upset with them that they wanted to cause their downfall. And the way that they were going to do it was bringing in, a person of ill repute, bringing in, a temptation towards lust. And that would bring about their fall, discredit them. Well, they were faithful. They withstood the temptation. They endured what they had to remain faithful to the Lord. The good news about this weekend's gospel, First Sunday of Lent, is the fact that Jesus experiences every temptation. Jesus conquers those temptations. And so we look to him as our example. We draw our strength from him so that when we face different temptations in our life, we might be strong. What are your 3 major temptations? What does Scripture say to remind you that this temptation isn't good? How can you be victorious over that temptation?